Well, welcome to Lessons from the Science of Getting Rich. This series will run over 8 weeks where I share with you lessons from the book as we make our way through it. The series has been created for those of you that are interested to create a transformation in your life from reading the book and applying its principles. I would invite you to share with me your progress and journey along the way. I'd love to hear from you. I put links and details in the description below. So as I said, it is based on the book, The Science of Getting Rich, and I would highly recommend that you download or purchase a copy of this book so you can get the most out of this mini-series. For those of you that might be new to this book and don't know much about the history of it, it was first released in 1910 and is based on the Hindu philosophy that one is all and all is one. The book goes through how to overcome mental barriers and how to create rather than compete in your path to wealth. So over the next 8 weeks of this mini-series, I'm going to share with you the lessons from the mastermind that we're running separately to this series so that you can follow along with us in your book. All right, so the first lesson of the mastermind discussion focused on 2 things. The first is mindset and commitment, and the second is the goals that you're going to set for the next 8 weeks and the container for their achievement. Because this is a mini-series, I'm not going to go in depth about those 2 things, but you can use this framework for yourself to achieve results. So let's start with goals. I recommend that you have at least one goal in mind for the next 8 weeks. I would recommend setting a goal that you think is impossible. Why would I say this? Well, there's a bit of a caveat to that. I would recommend setting a goal that you think is impossible and you want it, so it's something you definitely want, and it's something that you're willing to take action on. So don't be fooled at thinking that this next 8 weeks is going to be about you meditating and not taking any action. As Wattles clearly states and outlines in the book over and over and over again, this isn't the case at all. Now for mindset. To talk about mindset, I've decided to use a story that will most likely be something that you come back to again and again. So pay attention to the slide because it's the precursor to this story. And I'm hoping that by sharing this story, it's going to impart and give you a new way to, or a new lens to look through this book. All right, so for this story, I'm going to use the quote from the Bible to lay the foundation for how you need to be thinking as we work through the book. Now, just because it's from the Bible doesn't mean you have to be a believer or religious to get value from this. So don't do yourself a disservice by switching off here. There is a lot to be gained from the resources that are available to you, so make use of them. And the quote that I'm going to use is from the book of Matthew 18:20, where it says, "From where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, I am there among them." Now, I got to tell you that why this passage and why I'm using this passage is not because I went out looking for it, but because in fact it came to me and tapped me on the shoulder. So as I'm preparing this material, these are the passages that are coming to me to be discussed. And when I start to look into what does this passage mean? Why is this passage the one that's coming up? Because I'm not overly familiar with the Bible, but I'm getting these messages that this is the passage I need to refer to. I go in and I have a look and I find out that this passage is actually about conflict resolution. So the particular story is about a conflict between 2 people and what they need to do to resolve it. Now, like with any good conflict resolution advice, the first step is for those 2 people to talk it out with each other and do all they can to resolve it with each other. So if after doing everything they can, they cannot find a resolution, they would then seek help. Now, in our times of greatest tension and doubt is the times when we know where we've done everything that we know how to do. And it can be a time where we are the most vulnerable. It could be a time when we are just beaten down in our lives and we just don't know where else to go. And this is a place that I'm going to suggest to you is a place where we can seize an opportunity to ask for help, to surrender. And in the case of this Bible verse, they use this story as the point of surrender where Jesus steps in as the guide. Now, if we bring this back to the story of The Science of Getting Rich, or the book, The Science of Getting Rich, and the context that they use, we're going to use Jesus here from the Bible as a physical personification of what Wattles refers to as the formless substance. Wow, I hope I haven't blown you way apart here, but just stay with me. It's going to come together. So let's suppose that the two people here that this verse is referring to is not actually two people, but two aspects of yourself. So let's say that on the left, you have the red brain, the brain that focuses on the past, the parts of you that get confused, worried, full of self-doubt, the part of you that actually stops you from achieving your goal. And on the right side is the blue brain, the part of you that is future focused, that has goals and aspirations that you want to achieve, the parts of you that want to live your best life and be your best self. So one of the goals over the next 8 weeks of this series is to bring those two aspects of yourself in harmony with one another. And the word I like to use here is congruent. Rather than alignment, we're using congruent. We want to be in the middle of this image where everything is working in agreement and in harmony with one another. So here's the rub. Over the next 8 weeks, you are going to get very agitated reading this book. And I guarantee you that you're going to have moments where your red brain is going to take you off track, and then your blue brain is going to bring you back on track again, and then your red brain is going to take you off, and your blue brain is going to bring you back. So it's your job to be super vigilant so that when you notice this, you can take the action you need to take to stop it from happening and bring back to a place of congruence. The next part of this verse is when they say, when two or more are gathered, that is where I was present. This part is all about the surrender. This is the part where when you have done everything that you know how to do, and the book talks about that quite a lot, you're going to turn it over to the formless substance. You know, one of the things that we don't appreciate enough of in this physical world is the invisible. There is so much about the invisible that is beyond our ordinary perceptions. There is so much about the invisible that is not discussed in normal circles of conversation out there in society. And so to turn something over to the formless substance can be a bit like being helpless or being redundant. You might think it's counterproductive to do, but I'm going to encourage you to start to investigate this formless substance. I think one of the people who demonstrate a relationship with the formless substance in one of the best ways that I've ever seen is Dr. Joe Dispenza. And I go back to the original Dr. Joe Dispenza when he first got started. And one of the first places that I saw him speak was in the movie What the Bleep. Now, in that movie, he talks about getting himself into a relaxed state. And he's doing a meditation, he's getting himself into a relaxed state, and he's talking about his mind and bringing his mind in congruence with what he actually wants. And because the mind is a busy mind, he finds himself doing a to-do list. But then when he goes beyond the to-do list and he comes to asking for what does he want that day, he uses a little passage that I've committed to memory, and I may not be verbatim, but you'll get what I mean. So he says, show me a sign today that you have paid attention to any one of these things that I've created, and bring it in a way that I won't expect, and make it so that I have no doubt that it's come from you. And that, in essence, is what we need to do over the next 8 weeks. That is handing over to the formless substance. Now, as I said, it can seem counterproductive. It can seem like you are totally abdicating all of your responsibilities. But I promise you, this surrender to the invisible forces, the forces beyond your ordinary perception, this is where the magic of the science of getting rich comes alive. So your job over the next 8 weeks is to expand and deepen your relationship with that formless substance. And it might be just to even just discover it in the first place. Well, thank you for watching. This is the end of that first lesson. Tune in next week for the next video. I'll be posting every Friday in this series. And the next chapter we're going to be diving into is chapters 1 and 2. So if you want to be prepared for next Friday session, you want to be reading chapters 1 and 2 on repeat over and over again during the week. Thank you so much for joining me. This video was sponsored by She Leadership, which turns passionate women into powerful leaders, and the And Her Name Is podcast, a podcast that's out to redefine leadership. Click below for the links for more information. And as I said, please reach out to me and let me know how you're going. Thanks for watching.